Remembering there is one presence, one power in the universe, in our lives, that we are guided, that we are supported, and that we are on a spiritual journey of the evolving soul. We are grateful, we are blessed to be a part of this group of seekers who are seeking to know more of the truth that sets us all free. For our time of sharing and learning and awareness, we are grateful and we are blessed. Together we say, thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God. Together, thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God. And so it is. Amen. Good, I'm glad you guys are still coming in. Come on in and find a seat. I also do want to mention there are 2 people online that are calling in, and they're listening right now through my computer. One of our members named Jan Canada, who just moved back to North Carolina, she's online. And then I can't remember that other person. Who's online? Oh, Deb Holcomb. Deb's online too, right through the computer there. So Deb and Jan, we love you. Okay, so I want to get to right to the material. Tonight is called Soul, Karma, and Reincarnation. And rather than tell you the next 3 weeks, we're just going to go 1 week at a time because I might shift slightly based on the material, the energy, the questions tonight. Even though I do have a structure, we'll see what's needed as we move forward. I also want to thank all of you for wearing name tags. Most of you I know. If I don't, it helps to do that, especially it helps for you to get to know people around you. Also, you saw a form out there that said questions for class. Those are just if you would like to ask a question, especially after the end of tonight, if something's really burning, you say, I really want to know the answer to that, we didn't get time, write it down and I'll consider it either for the next class or the series, or maybe even in a Sunday message. So we'll look into that, okay? Any questions before we get started? Everybody's got paper, you found all of that, envelopes, etc. Okay. All right, let's get started. And by the way, class tonight is being recorded. I'm looking at using some of the material later, and I really want to record what we're doing to make sure I capture everything. So if you're sharing and you don't want that information captured, then just don't share it, because I need to. All right. All right. That's spiritual, eh? Okay. I wanted to quote Charles Fillmore from the very beginning, which says, too often we forget that reincarnation is but a step in our development. When we have fully mastered our spiritual self, we no longer seek new bodies and new experience on the earthly plane. Which really means what? Which really means we get to a spiritual place in consciousness and we don't come back. Right? So Charles Fillmore was really intent, one of Unity's co-founders, was really intent on reaching spiritual enlightenment to the point that he wouldn't have to return back to Earth. Right? So that's part of the founders' teachings were really strongly on reincarnation. It's interesting because in the last about 10 years at Unity School, they moved out of teaching it a little bit because most people haven't really done a lot of study and reading. And I think literally some of the teachers weren't comfortable with it. But it's all through the early Unity literature. There was a lot of teaching on reincarnation. So it's by no means, thank you so much. It's by no means, that's fine. It's by no means out of alignment with Unity teaching. As a matter of fact, it is right in alignment with the founders' spiritual seeking. Right? So a couple people asked, is reincarnation a Unity teaching? Absolutely, it is. From our founders, and there's even some evidence of the teachings of reincarnation in the Bible. We'll look at that too, but I just wanted to start out with that. This presentation is one I made just for you, just for this class, and because many of you were not here before, I wanted to at least recap some central ideas. And for some of us, this is still new, and I'm sure we can use a little repeat on the topic, right? Right. So we want to talk about your soul, right? So you are not your body. Say with me, I am not my body.
I am not my body.
You are not your personality. Say with me, I am not my personality.
I am not my personality.
You are not your income. Say with me, I am not my income.
I am not my income.
You have been here before. Say with me, I have been here before.
I have been here before.
You will come here again, most likely. Yeah, I will come here again, most likely. Yeah. Look at somebody and say, you're probably going to come back.
You're probably going to come back.
I mean, probably. You are a soul. Evolving evolution takes, right, eons. I mean, if we look at how the earth evolved, how things on earth have evolved, you know, we say it's a short time is 20 million years, you know, when you're talking about evolving. So many of us, if not all of us in this very room, have been here hundreds of times. To think anything other than that would be naive. Because just that you're interested in your soul says you've been here enough times or evolved enough to have this idea. This is an advanced idea to be interested in your soul and what your soul is doing. In other words, if you're in this room, probably you're an old soul. Probably you've been here hundreds and hundreds of times. Many people would even say thousands. Who knows? Who knows? What's that?
I said, I must be LD in life because it takes so long.
It takes so long. It takes so long to evolve. And so many, in my ministry, what I've learned is that most people are here to learn one big lesson. One. And all of these things in life, like and I've learned it as working with people who are older. They say, I really get now what my whole life is about. If they're conscious. They can put together and they see these little arcs of learning. And if you're over 50, raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so look around the room. You see what I'm saying? You start, because I thought, if you're over 50, I mean. Well,
It's a seasoned age.
oh, I thought they were just on. Okay. What do you want to do? Where?
Sorry, guys.
Start meeting?
Yeah. I'm
Sorry.
sorry, I was supposed to do that. I got distracted.
Okay, are you guys there?
I apologize.
Okay, wait. Okay, are you guys there?
Oh,
We're here.
Turn around. Okay, well, I gotta move on.
yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
All right. So, we've been here, as I said, what? Hundreds and hundreds of times, right? So we're evolving. So there's one usually arc in life that you're learning. One big one. And I think I finally got mine. There they are. Hello. Okay. So, is this clear to everyone? I think I want to go back one and recenter this. I hate when this gets off. All right. So, we are most concerned about at Christ Church Unity, not your body, not your personality, not your income, not your complex, not where you live, not what you drive, but your soul. This class about karma, about reincarnation, is about your soul, first and foremost. All those other things impact your soul, certainly, but it's not the focus of this class. It's not, we're not going to be doing techniques of how to get along. Right? All those things, and even though those are good things, those are things that deal only with the personality. It comes to a point in time when all things become spiritual. Where, and a lot of people, I will say, in my view, try to spiritualize things before they're at that point emotionally. And then there's some people that are do so much emotional work and are so in their head, they're behind spiritually. So the work kind of goes, you know, like this. But ultimately, the higher and higher you get in awareness, it's all soul. You know, it was my partner who said, well, you know, the word psyche means soul. Psychology is supposed to be the study of the soul, not the study of the mind. The great psychiatrist Carl Jung understood that. So we'll be bringing up Carl Jung probably more and more. I'm inundated with it at home because my partner is in this doctoral program where we are. She's always talking about Carl Jung and the deeper understanding of the soul. And I think I mentioned Sunday, if you've never seen the Red Book, I might bring it in. It's a book about this big. I mean, it's ridiculously large. But it's Carl Jung's basically personal spiritual journey in words and pictures. It is phenomenal in understanding the soul. All right, so is everybody clear on this? So you have been here before. If you're in this room tonight, you're not a young soul. You've been here before. Okay, and you probably will come again, remembering that that's not a bad thing, and we'll get to that. How do you know when you come back and all that? All right. Let's go to our next one. Okay. I want to give you a couple of quotes. This is for the people in the room that really like to know. We didn't just make this up, but scholars in the Bible, these ideas have been around. They're not new, in other words, and they're certainly not particular just to unity. Socrates said, I am confident that there truly is such a thing as living again, and that the living spring from the dead and are in existence. Yeah, beautiful. From the scriptures, his disciple asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? In other words, disciples are saying, wait a minute, what's this guy's karma? That's that question, right? Hey, what did this guy do, him or his parents? Somebody screwed up. What's his karma? Also, we see in the scripture, many places, is he Elijah? Do you remember those questions when they say to Jesus? Oh, wait, is he Elijah? Who is this guy? In other words, they were saying, is this the prophet reborn? Because there's an understanding that when we do evolve, and when we are born, that we are born in a higher state of awareness. Because theoretically, we've learned something last time around. Okay? So there's just, and I just wanted to give a couple examples. There's thousands. This wasn't hard to find. Thousands of examples. Nowadays, to really hear much about reincarnation, the only place I know that you could potentially go, like if you were looking on the internet for stuff, is maybe the Edgar Cayce Foundation or ARE. And I wouldn't necessarily recommend that because you need to kind of have a context for Edgar Cayce. But if you wanted to do more research on your own, you might actually look into it there. All right, so let's move on from that. Next, okay, these were specific questions off the questionnaire. How do we know when and how to come back? Do we have to come back, and how long till we come back? So I want to start with the bottom one, how long until we come back? So the Tibetan Book of the Dead says it's a 49-day process that then we come back. Now, 49 days. Right. Well, the Tibetans, I think, are the closest, are one of the best on this topic. I've heard 69 years. I've heard 100 years. I've heard so, but the only thing in writing I've seen 49 days. Tibetan Book of the Dead. So it's an interesting idea. Some traditions believe you are immediately reborn. That as soon as you die and pass over, your soul is suddenly in the womb and you get ready to be reborn again. That is some teachings of other traditions. As a matter of fact, it was the understanding of James Dillett Freeman, who wrote Our Prayer for Protection. He studied a lot about reincarnation, and he wrote a whole play on the topic. And in his play, that's exactly what happened. He was at death, passed over, and then suddenly was realizing his birth experience. Right? So some believe the soul comes in right at birth. So these are just various understandings about the soul of when, how long until we come back. As the scriptures say, though, 1,000 years is as a day, and a day as 1,000 years. I also think it depends on, and I'm sure it does, depend on the, I want to be careful how I say this, the nature of the soul. What was the level of wounding? What's needed? Or that soul to come back? And I'm not going to touch the suicide topic till later in the series, but I'm going to get to that because I think it's a really important topic. Anytime I'm talking about this topic, it comes up, and I want us to give it the time it deserves, so I'm not going to do it tonight. So the question, do we have to come back? Yes. Well, okay, you have to come back if you are going to evolve. The idea that it is a soul choice to come back or not, yes, but the soul is always wanting to grow. You know, Charleston Moore said desire is the onward impulse of the ever-evolving soul. So anytime we have a desire in this life that's not realized, like let's say when we die, we say, I wish I would have always, what? Gone horseback riding, let's say. That we die with that desire. So that desire doesn't die with the body because that's a desire of the soul to have this experience. Right? So as long as desire is alive, then the answer is yes, you come back. Yeah, desire is what brings us back. And the need to evolve and experience life. So yes, there are lessons to learn, but it's based on desire. So now we are also told from a lot of the Eastern traditions that oftentimes master teachers come back because they want to, and they embody in the homeless and the poor to remind us of our compassion, to teach us a lesson. So think about that next time you pass a homeless person. Might be a master sitting there. Okay. Mother Teresa said the body of the Christ is carefully disguised in the bodies of the poor. Right? So we don't know who's sitting there. So the masters like Jesus, like the Buddha, do they come back? I mean, they do at will. Does that make sense to everybody what I'm saying? Yeah, so do we have to come back? I mean, if you have desire, the answer is yes. You will come back because it's an experience you want to have. And, you know, I find it so interesting in little kids when they haven't been on the planet long and there's things they absolutely want to do, and I think they must come in with that desire. Has anybody else ever thought that watching kiddos?
Absolutely.
You know that they come in, right, with certain desires, certain needs, certain drive, certain gifts. I mean, you know, we see now, like there's so many like kid prodigies now. We say, how can you be 5 years old and writing a symphony? What?
Yeah.
You know, you brought something in with you. I mean, most people are like in the sandbox at 5, but no, this soul is like, okay, writing a symphony? Okay, so clearly something is, right, desiring to be known in the life, and that's why it comes back. Right? So, and I work with a lot of people. I was just talking to a minister friend the other day whose daughter remembered having a talk before coming down to earth, and part of the conversation was whether she was going to be a girl or a boy, and she said she wanted to be a girl because she'd probably have more friends. She told her dad that when she was 3 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, like I really remember, you know, before I was going to come down, the dad's going, really? You know? Oh yeah. I was talking with my helpers, also known as her karmic board. We'll get to that. That's later in the series. That's week 4. Your karmic board. So she was talking with her helpers and you know, decided before she came down what she was going to be, a girl or a boy. And you remember I told you, right? How we get this? It's right before you leave. Right? That's how we get that little mark right there. And that's when we forget. That's when we forget. Okay, then how do we know when and how to come back? I think that's all between us and God. I don't think I can even answer that question because I think it's such an individual soul journey. For instance, you know, based on what the soul did or didn't do that lifetime, what needs to be done. I think of a soul like Hitler. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? We have to have that conversation as we're talking about souls because it's like the worst soul I can imagine. How about a presidential candidate, she said. No karma there, right? Okay. Yeah. So I think it's between the individual souls and God when and how to come back. I don't know if any human can really totally answer that. Could really totally answer that question because I think it's soul choice based on what needs to be learned in the in-between time, and then when we come back, in. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, just a little question. What is our purpose? And do we come back as human or animal or mineral or... Okay, this was a great question because there seems to be a general understanding among teachers about this topic, that there is an order to how we evolve, right? Mineral, vegetable, animal, human. I also say, I don't think anybody really 100% knows, like usually, like would there be a purpose to go back and be an animal after you've been a human? I suppose if that's a desire or need, could happen. Could happen. I've never talked to anybody who felt that was happening or had happened, but is it possible? I'm sure in consciousness anything is based on the desire and the need. But when we think of evolution, the idea is that we move from one state to another, advancing. Of course, I'm not sure that man doesn't have it wrong, and the rock's not the most intelligent. I mean, I'm sorry. You know, the natives believe that these are our elders. You can't get any more still than a rock. Jesus said, hey, you know what? Those things are going to cry out if these people weren't, so pay attention. You know, so they don't have the ability to reason as we know it, but it's consciousness.
So,
Yeah.
so in essence, there's a finite number of souls if we keep returning.
That's an interesting question. Is there a finite number? I don't know if I can answer that.
I mean, it seems like if we were originally
Well,
created and then we die and reincarnate and die and reincarnate.
well, that's true. We do die and reincarnate, but there's also new souls being born. Right? Because there are young souls. God knows they're all running for president. No, just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm actually really excited about the election. But anyway, as I said Sunday, I've never been more engaged in the political, in the political thing than I have been this year. But yes, there are new souls being born. Remember, we talked about a young soul as, you know, the one that's kind of, even though sports cars aren't bad, you know, this. And guys, I'm not picking on you, but you know, the guy who's you know, done his midlife crisis, you know, 3 times in a row, and you know, keeps getting with new women, and is, you know, dating 2 at a time, and driving the sports car, and you know, he who dies with the most toys wins. There's women like that too, believe me, right? So it's not just the men, but that's the idea in a young soul. Like, I'm just gonna get. It's like the 1.5-year-old that goes mine, right? Everybody's seen that in kids, right? Everything, mine, right? So that's a young soul. I'm going to get. And so when we think about that too, and as we think about, say, our state or as a country, you know, there's a certain consciousness and even a vibrational reality to each city, state, nation. Do you guys ever remember that guy, I'm saying remember like it was years ago, it's maybe 15 years ago, maybe 20, who wrote that book, Power versus Force, David Hawkins? Yes. It was interesting. I got to know him because when I worked at Unity Village, he came and did quite a bit of work there. I mean, and I said, this guy's either a complete genius or completely nuts. I was never totally sure. But I loved it. I loved him too. He calibrated different countries. We could feel in the room the calibration as he was doing it. I mean, it was really a very subtle, you know, experience. So everything carries with it not only an age, as we're saying, a young soul and an old soul, which implies a different vibration, a higher or more dense, unaware, to a more subtle. Does that make sense? Yeah, so yes, I mean, they're all different levels in consciousness. Yes, Pam.
So this first time I've heard about the idea of a young soul newly being born.
Yes.
So how does that come about?
Well, God is always creating. Okay. All things are always being born. We're discovering new planets, new stars all the time. Have they always been there, or are they being born?
Got it.
Right, so it's happening in creation, so we know it's happening in humanity. Right, so there's always new creation is still happening. Yeah, you're right. Yes.
Could it be possible that there are souls coming in from other dimensions that need to learn
Oh, yes.
here?
Oh, yes. I mean, there's even the idea that there are, I'm trying to think of the name of them. Somebody help me if you know. I mean, not alien, but that there are advanced life forms. Now, this is going to sound real out there, and it is, but it isn't really. Because all things are possible in consciousness. What's that? No, it's, it came up when I was at Edwin Gaines with a bunch of ministers, and one of the ministers said, you know, what do you think about alien life forms, or something like that? And we were like, well, that was out of nowhere. And you know, there, in other words, there have been advanced souls that have come from the future. That's the idea.
Are they crystals? Crystals show
No, that's not the word. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But the idea is, like somebody said, Jesus was a such and such, or just a totally self-realized soul. But, yeah, right. From a different dimension, let's say. Yes, what were you going to say?
I have in the beginning where you put up, and it said that we've come back like 100,000 times, but it said on there, once you reach a certain level, you no
Right.
longer come back to the. So does that mean we never reach that level?
Oh, no, we certainly will reach. Ultimately, we will all reach it.
Yes.
Great question. Ultimately, her question was, well, does that mean we never reach the level where we don't come back? No, we can reach it. And it's when we get off the karmic wheel, which means I don't owe you, you don't owe me. I don't owe no one, nobody. In other words, everything I do is out of devotion to God.
Wow.
Nobody owes me. I don't owe anybody. I'm free of karma. That's the idea. So yes, the idea is that we all eventually don't come back, and the souls that are new now will advance, and it's going to take them a while, like it took us a while. Right? So, yeah. So our purpose, ultimately, all of us is, you answered it right there, is to become enlightened so we don't come back. Like I have this friend, and she was the first person who turned me on to Paramahansa Yogananda and Sai Baba, some of those Eastern teachers. And one of the first things she ever said to me, and she was doing a lot of spiritual work, she said, I'm not coming back next time. And I was like, I have never heard anybody say that. I said, how do you know? She said, because I'm cleaning it all up this time. You guys ought to go online and hear her music. Her name's Tammy Joseph, Joseph. And actually, I played on one of her CDs, too. By the way. And you know that cool drummer, that's me. I'm kidding. No, but one of her songs that I really love in particular is called Traveling Home. See if you can find that one, Traveling Home. But that's great, and it's all of her CDs, all of her music, it's all devotion to God. She was the first person I ever heard say, I'm not coming back. I'm doing it all. I'm getting off the karmic wheel. I'm forgiving, I'm loving, I'm serving, I'm doing it. Yeah. Yeah, so, and then we kind of talked about this. Can I start, but not exactly, this was somebody's question. Can we start as a young soul and end as an old soul? This life? Nah. Can't be done. I mean, anything's possible, yeah, but, you gotta really, it's about lessons learned. It's not about like I'm young now and I'm old later. It's kind of like new age, airy-fairy. Oh, yes, I can just, be enlightened and all that. Forget about it. You got to go through the steps. You got to learn the lessons. You got to pay your dues. It's like anything in life. You don't just advance for nothing. You've got to do the work. And a young soul has no clue. That's why you're a young soul. I had to catch myself. I'm like, oh my God, people are online. We're recording. Show what's your question? And then Cece.
I feel that we have only one life to live, but when we're reincarnated, is it possible that there's a second life that we live in some way? Because I feel that many people believe that.
What do you mean? Like, say more about that. I don't totally understand the question, but I'm feeling your vibe on it. So say a little more.
I feel like that we're being reborn to like a
Yes.
next generation.
Yes, I think we are being reborn, and I think, sorry, go ahead.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yes, I think each time, each new life when we're reborn, we carry all the memory of our past life with us,
Right.
okay? And then we also are born with new things to do. So in our cellular memory, as we've talked about this, in our cells, in our blood, in our DNA, literally is all the information from before. So even though we're reborn into a new body, possibly a new color, possibly a new gender,
Yes.
that we're carrying all the information from before. So is it kind of two lives? I mean, yes, but it's one soul. So that's what I'm saying is we are reborn many, many times, and every time we're reborn, we're bringing all that with us, whatever's not cleaned and healed up. And even the things that are, we still have the memory of them. Right, like we did in our last class, we did a meditation where we remembered how to be a rose bush. Raise your hand if you were here. It's powerful, right? People remembered what it felt like to have a thorn, what it felt like to have the rain on them. So what you're saying is absolutely right on. but it's, even though it looks like different lives, like I'm a man this time, I'm a woman this time, I'm straight this time, I'm gay this time.
So it's like unlimited.
You got it. Eternal. It looks like separate, but then there's something that happens in between, and we're going to get to that in the last week. What happens in the in-between time with your karmic board? We'll get to that. Cece, what was your point?
Yeah, the young souls don't really, I mean, it's your choice whether you come to earth or not, and the young souls just, I'll just say it this way, they
Yes.
decide to pray upstairs and not come down, so they don't have the experience on earth that the old souls have. That's
True.
why the old souls can move very easy. They can come down as a female, they can come down as a male.
Right.
They move very easily,
Mhm.
okay, because they have the experience, but the young souls have not been to the earth plane that many times.
That's correct.
So they do the things you say, kind of foolish things.
Yeah, it's foolish. Yeah, it's foolish. And you're right about the older souls. And the people I've known that I would say have an old soul, the wisdom is just who they are. And even the idea of thinking about gender, it doesn't even occur to them. Or sexual orientation. They're like, what are you even talking about? So you're a woman with a woman, or a man with a woman, or a man with a man? You're a soul. This is just the equipment this time around. I mean, it's like, this is not even a discussion. This is not even a topic. Yes, Britt.
One of the things I was going to ask is, what about de-evolution? Is it possible to go the opposite way, or like, up and down throughout?
Oh, it is
lifetime?
definitely possible to devolve. I've seen it before my very eyes. I used to say it wasn't, but that was naive. It really is naive. I thought that. I've even read that you can only go forward, and all these sweet New Agers, oh yes, we only advance, even though it looks like, even though it looks like we're going backwards when we're, using and we lose our family and we abuse people. No, that's devolution. That's not evolving. That's not, working in your life. I mean, if I believe, there would be no Hitler if devolution wasn't possible. Because if we're all born with light and the power to choose, what did he choose? Right. Dark over light. I don't know how to make sense of that any other way. And any advanced teacher I've talked to 100% agrees. They say, oh, absolutely, you choose. I've seen people going like this on their spiritual journey. I'm like, oh, wow, look at that. And then they go, they're doing this, they're going well, and they have a ministry, and all of a sudden they're sleeping with the associate minister, losing their family, going bankrupt. I've seen it so many times. And it's been with spiritual teachers. The spiritual ego gets so big, and it is. It is. It's one of the temptations of Jesus, right? We all get tempted with those things. So when you choose that, other than that, are you devolving? Absolutely. You absolutely have the choice to devolve or not. Yes, Teresa Marie, then Paul.
So explain to me what a cleanse is. So if we do either a chakra cleanse or any kind of cleanse that we do, like you say, we carry all this memory with us. What does the cleanse do when we do these cleanses?
Okay, Teresa Marie's question was, I'm partially repeating this for people online to make sure everybody in the back can hear. What happens when we're cleansing, like our chakras and things like that? We pick up various energies as we go through life, for sure. And is it possible to release some of those energies through the spiritual process? Absolutely, it is. But if we don't get to the things that attracted those things, we're going to just attract more of the same to it. Which is why I always talk about doing real soul work rather than all this airy-fairy work. Even though I love the airy-fairy stuff, I love getting chakra readings, I love getting chakra clearings, but unless I'm doing the forgiveness work, the meditation work, and the service, see what I'm saying? But all those things are helpful, yes. They're helpful because they lift and we're like, oh, I feel lighter. So then we're in that place that we want to do the real work. From the forgiveness, from the service. There's just, it's like we all want something for free. We all want a deal, right? We all want to. I remember years ago there was this doctor I had, and I went to this other doctor. Like, I had a main doctor, and then I had this other doctor who was kind of, ooh, let's do all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, man, I love alternative therapies, And I thought I could get this test for deal, and I called my doctor. I said, oh my God, everything's wrong with me. I got these results back on this test. And she goes, Alice, put it down. I said, no, this doctor said I wanted to talk to you because I know you want to do this expensive test, and she gave me this one for less money. She said, honey, we all want a deal. Just forget about it. I know that you want help, but there's no jumping over what the real work is. Let's get you a real blood test. And this was a naturopathic doctor saying this, by the way. Let's get you a real blood test with real results and not some like machine. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so this is what we try to do with our soul work. Like I just want somebody else to do it. I want to go and get a cleansing and remove. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not the only work. Right? Like those chakra pictures, we're going to do that later in the year probably at the church because it's fun. Go to Casadega, have a day, but don't think that that's the real work. You know what I'm saying? Paul?
Yeah, I'll comment more than a question. And I think it goes back to earlier with the new souls or young souls. And
right.
that is that it's important for us not to judge new souls or think that we're in any way superior because we were there and their job, they can remind us of where we've been, and it's a constant reminder,
Right.
I think that's important to do.
Oh, I do too. As a matter of fact, when you understand soul evolution, it's a lot easier to stay in non-judgment rather than judgment. As Paul said, let's make sure and look at the younger souls, not to judge them, and just like, wow, right? So what we want to do is have a lot of compassion, a lot of patience, and just like a master can be landed in a homeless body, they can be landing in a young soul too, because a mature soul would just go, oh, that's just a young soul. They just go, oh yeah, I know what that is. They're just in first grade and I'm a senior. That's all. You know what I mean? Or maybe I'm in fourth grade, so I know a little more, but just barely.
And maybe we bumped into them to
right.
teach them, just like older souls than us bump into us to teach us and give us direction.
Right. It's like we say in the 12 steps, right? Share experience, strength, and hope. Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. Good comment, Paul. Thank you. All right, let's look at the next one. I couldn't remember what was next. Okay. How can we find out if we had a previous life and what our karma was that was never completed or resolved? Okay. So the answer is you did have a previous life. We've already gone through that. Now, what it was that was never completed or resolved, well, I can tell you because it's coming up now to be healed. It's obvious. It's not a secret. It keeps showing up over and over and over. And Britt and I were talking earlier, when something comes up and there's a charge to it and it lingers and it won't go away, especially if it's like a kind of a small thing that you're like, and you can't let it go, chances are that's something that is asking for healing in you, and that's why it comes up, especially if you see it over and over and over in your life. Like if you find yourself saying, why do people always do this to me? Raise your hand if you've ever said that. It's all of us, right? Why does this always happen? Because Spirit has eternity and is saying, whenever you're ready to heal this, let's go. And we always make it, somebody else's fault, like I have a nephew, he can't keep a job, and it's always the manager. That guy has it out for me. Oh, yeah, like the last one, you mean? Yeah! And so he didn't like you coming in late. Yeah! Didn't like you partying. Yeah. Yeah, what is wrong with you? It's you, brother! All right, so the other thing is past life regression can be helpful in getting resolution, but usually most practitioners of that don't really know what they're doing. So we'll handle that more in later sessions, but regression can be helpful, but usually it's when an energy is up. To just do a regression to like find out past lives, yeah, it's not really for that. It's really for healing. So, but usually it's up already, and so that's why, then you might do a regression to get help to then start to unravel it. Yes?
I always was very interested in knowing, like, if we ever had a life before the current one we live in,
Yes.
Figuring out if we have seen, like, for example, a TV show like I'm very well known for, do I know about this before the life I was now? Did I know about this topic or something?
Right. Right. It's a wonderful thing to know. And it's very enlightening to know. And I think we want to just be careful about other people telling us what our past lives have been. Because the truth is that's your work to find out. It's okay to get help with that, but does that make sense what I'm saying? Instead of, and I've had people tell me, oh, you were I don't know if I should say this or not. I'm going to. Okay. Like somebody said to me years ago, you were a man the last 5 lives. I thought, yeah. You know? Okay. Go ahead. Britt. That was a rapper.
So the people who are like child prodigies and things like that, they come in, like maybe in a past life they were big symphony composers or whatever. What is, how do I word this? What is the point of like doing that again versus doing something completely different?
Okay. Well, we don't know if they did it again. It was probably usually, and usually the cases they did not, and it was a desire to do it.
Okay.
Right. So the desire was so strong they came in with it. Or you know who I always think about the movie I've watched it 100 times, Amadeus.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? I should watch it again. You know, and you know the character Salieri, how he was just mediocre but so could see greatness. Now that's a soul that wanted to grow, but then he ends up committing suicide. So, yeah. Oh, sure. Did I just totally bust the movie? Sorry. Erica, what were you gonna say?
You made me want to go.
And it's interesting to the point, like, the day that I was born, my previous life had just been deceased, like, into this new world.
You say, did that happen? Possibly.
Because I just learned, like, when dealing with, like, a death, it's another way of using it is graduated, because I really feel like the spirit connects with this.
Mm-hmm. Well, and sometimes, too, depending on the family we're born into, is really interesting, both karmically and as it relates to our desires and how we want to grow. And what I mean is, like I'm going to tell the story, and try to stay with me. I think you'll get it. That, okay, so when I was, born, the youngest of 9, and I always had this desire to be of service, and when I was 8, I felt called to minister. At that time, I didn't even know my granddad had been a minister, and my great-granddad had been a minister on my mom's side, because they were both dead when I was born. One died when my mom was pregnant with me. As a matter of fact, at one time, I thought I might be him reincarnated, because we were so similar. It was that, clear. Well, recently, I was in Tennessee. I was in Nashville, a few weeks ago. And this friend of mine was driving me around. He goes, I want to take you to this church. It's the carving of the Last Supper. It's really wild, and I knew you'd like it. And I was like, okay. He goes, oh, before we go, let's just go in this church right here. I want to show you this. And it was kind of weird because it was not on the plan to go there. And we go in. He goes, this is so crazy. There's all this Egyptian stuff in this church, and it was an old First Presbyterian church downtown in Nashville. And I was like, wow. So I just walked up. He goes, why don't you walk up in the pulpit? I said, yeah, I'm going to. And so I walked up, and there was a lot of wood, and it was old school Presbyterian. So, they're down there, and we're up here, and choir loft. And I was like, yeah, this is wild. I mean, it was all like pyramids and hieroglyphics. It was strange. And I said, well, what is that about? Oh, well, there was a Rosicrucian community here. Now, stay with me. So then we go in this other little hallway, and my partner says to me, who is that right there? I look at this picture, I said, well, it says William Anderson. I said, that's my dad's name. Wait a minute. She goes, turn to the side, and I turn to the side. She said, that's your profile. And so I figured out it's my dad's uncle, who was a minister there. In 1901. Wow. He was a friend to the African Americans at the time.
Of course he was.
He was very interested in outreach and serving the poor. He was very dynamic as a speaker. He turned down raises from the church. I've done all of those things. Yes, I got a picture, and then there was also a book in the. There was also a book about it in the front thing. So we bought the book or whatever, and I was so stunned by that. And then my sister was just here, and she brought me a Bible for my granddad. I'm going, okay. I don't know exactly what this is, except that. Okay, I was definitely, and then what came to me was when I was a kid, my dad told me, no other sibling, that he believed in reincarnation. And I went, he learned it from the uncle who was a Rosicrucian.
Wow.
I could never in my mind figure where he got that. He was born in the country.
Wow.
He had a 7th grade education because he had to quit school to work at the general store to support his family. He had no way of knowing what reincarnation even was. And it was like, oh my God, my ancestors just told me all that. So I'm telling you all that to say, even our DNA is informing us. Right? That was like a distant relative, but it was absolutely about what my role is this lifetime. Do you see how it's all connected? Yes. I mean, do you see what I'm saying? Yes, go ahead. Victor.
I have a friend that is Jewish, and we've become very close.
Uh-huh.
And out of the blue, I had this thought that I had been in the Holocaust with him. That he was my son, and there was a whole story behind it. Should I believe that? I mean, I want to go and have a past life regression and find out.
Yes, I think that would be a very important one to do a regression on. Yes, very important. And yes, it's very possible. I was going to go to it later, but we can talk about it now that I've had several memories with different people where then they confirmed my my memory, like they knew the story before I did. Do you know what I'm saying? And I mean, there have been several stories with people I've been very close to, friends, and oftentimes it's even in families like somebody who's your son or your daughter this time around was your parent before, right? Like there's a story, a past life story that I worked one time where my son was my dad in another life, and I was killed in the war. It was, so yes, I think that's very, very important to investigate. Yeah, and I could give you a recommendation on that. When I was a kid, I would have these memories, and I just tend to go in and out of kind of non-ordinary states fairly easily. So, for me, a past life memory is not unusual to have. Other people, they never have them. So, but if you have one and it's really informing you, there's probably a reason. Bickley, I'm glad that you're honoring it because there's a reason it's coming up. It's an important connection to investigate and might really provide healing for you in this other person, this life. I think that's beautiful. Raise your hand if you feel like you've ever had a past life memory. Almost everybody. Okay. Great. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about karma. And go ahead, you can just push that, Miriam. There you go. Karma, and usually, again, as we talk about karma, so often people use the idea of karma as a cop-out. Like, this is my karma, it's her karma, it's their karma. And that's not really what karma is. Karma is it is a balancing. I mean, the word really means, right, balance. It's about a balance. But it's also about, karma doesn't dictate, say what you did last lifetime, doesn't dictate, but in fact it influences heavily this life. So rather than worrying about what your karma was, the important question to be asking is, what am I creating now? Right? What am I creating now? Let's say that together. What am I creating now? Wayne Dyer, I love this quote. How people treat you is their karma, how you react is yours. Right, so if somebody sends you an angry email, for God's sakes, don't respond back. Don't blab all over Facebook. I get so tired of seeing that stuff. Right, so, what's that?
Don't go to Facebook.
Yeah, just don't go to Facebook. It's just that easy. Maureen, what were you going to say?
So, I just want to kind of backtrack so
Sure.
I don't understand. So, what am I creating now? I understand that. So, taking it back to past life regressions,
I've had what I think are memories of a past life.
Sure.
I have really, and my family has urged me, oh, you need to have a past life regression. I have no desire to, because my thought was I'm more interested in what I'm creating now than the past. So can you kind of...
Yes, I will give you a really good example. Last December, we had some friends come to town, and they're all gifted in a process called deep memory process, which is really, it's a regression technique. And I was having this problem with my wrist. It was really bad. It was getting to the point that I couldn't really move it very well, and I couldn't type, and I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, you know, you've got arthritis in that thing. And I went to the acupuncturist, and she poked it. My God, it was acutorture. I mean, it was like, God! I mean, you know, it's like nothing spiritual I knew helped with that needle poking through my arm, I can tell you that. And so I was, you know, I was kind of, I don't know what to do, you know. Then I'm thinking, my God, arthritis runs in my family. Have I been eating sugar? You know, I'm like, did I do this to myself? I'm like, oh my God, I had carbonation the other day. Did I make this happen? So we had these gals come, and we're doing all the spiritual work, and it's really cool because we're just hanging out and doing regressions and meditating and doing like angel readings. It was awesome, you know, and eating lots of really good food and chocolate and stuff. Anyway, I'm getting to the point, Maureen, stay with me. And I laid down to do this regression, and I was instantly in a slave story. And they had my arm. And it was, yeah, it was shackled. And so I worked that story, and I mean, I was instantly in it. I could smell the dirt and the soldiers. It was, and so, and I was killed. I was killed. I was a little girl, and I had been running, and I was killed, and that's how they caught me. After the story, no more pain in that wrist. Because, okay, so, because in the regression, this type of regression, this is why I'm saying about be careful about the type of regression. What you do is you go back, and yes, you have to live through it, but, you know, I had to go through it once for real, but it feels like when it's happening, that it's happening. And then when you go back, you rework it, and then you get to release it and heal the story.
I understand.
Okay, so that's why it's important if there's a piece to be healed, right? So sometimes it just shows up as a memory, you know, to give you validation for the way you're going. Not everything needs to be worked. And in that same week, I did a different story where I was a soldier in love with somebody. It's completely different. I mean, it was like, okay, yeah, this is no big deal. But that one was, yeah. And no more, not a single problem with the wrist since. Yes, Dee.
That is fascinating. So for some, if we find ourselves constantly getting stuck, maybe same issue repeatedly, past life regression could be a desensitization reprocessing thing.
Yes. Yes, what you're doing, because remember, this stuff is alive in your body, and if something comes up that's similar to it, let's say somebody, I'm going to just grab your wrist, okay? Let's say somebody grabs my wrist like this, just goofing around, and I'm like, and I'm thinking, God, what was that about? You see what I'm saying? That certain things get triggered because it's in our DNA, because it hasn't been healed. Cellular. And that sweet little soul, that little girl, oh my God. Oh my gosh. I was completely, it was so intense. And there was this even little blanket. I could describe the details of this little blanket that was over me in my little cot where I lived, and I was trying to escape. And I mean, it was, so yes, it can be very, very healing in the right hand. And again, not every single thing needs to be worked. I mean, maybe I've done, 4 or 5 regressions in my entire life, you know. But the times I have done it, it's been huge. Like one of the ones I did was when there was somebody that was coming in to church. It happened once in Phoenix, and it happened here where I thought they had a gun. And I was completely triggered into a past life. So I really had to work that one, you know. And I said Jesus Christ many, many times in that talk that day. Because I thought, okay, you know, this could be it. So I'm going to go down saying Jesus. And if I say it enough, maybe, dear God, they won't pull the gun. Right, so that was a trigger. And it was clear to me that And when it happened here, the guy, we did have to ask him to leave. We had to call the police. He was so belligerent and inappropriate. And he carried a big briefcase. It was just, so that was another case. So anyway, I didn't know I was going to get into all, the past lives of RCA. Kara, and then Britt, we'll move on.
So I just recently was doing some healing, and when they were working on my back, I felt it move, but then clearly forgiveness came in mind. Like I have forgiveness work to do.
Yeah.
But I've been doing a lot of forgiveness work. So is it possible that it's past forgiveness work? Like
Very
past
possible.
forgiveness work?
Very possible, and we are going to do a whole week on forgiveness, and I will give you a really good process that I've been working daily for about a month. Okay, yes, it may be, and it's a good point because often if we're in yoga poses, or even it can happen when we're running, or maybe we get a massage, and like my sister was telling me one time that she was over, and when my family comes, I don't care if they like spiritual stuff or not, I just do it, and like we'll have, I'll have a massage therapist come over, and we'll do social collage cards and make food and say, okay, your turn, go get the massage, and so she had an experience where, like the massage therapist just touched her back, and she just she hit something. And of course, my sister has no idea. I mean, she's never done a spiritual thing in her life. She had no idea that, maybe that was some kind of carried feeling. But you're right on to think everything is stored in our bodies, and so physically, often it can happen where even we can have even an ailment, or we can have something and a memory come because it's in our DNA. It's in we're holding it. Our body literally has perfect memory. Right? So you're right to do that. Very right to do that. And it often happens in yoga and massage and any of the body modalities. So yes, you're right to... Daryl? Oh, I'm sorry, Britt and then Daryl.
I was just going to say that with your wrists and everything, I had this weird thing with my shoulder.
Right.
And it feels like arthritis and something like
arthritis
and bone spurs had a baby in my shoulder. And, but it doesn't feel like something physical. I know it's something metaphysical. So, and I've worked with it and everything like that. So, it feels like a past life thing to me. So,
sounds like it.
Would you recommend like a DMP for that?
Yes.
Okay.
And there's a lot of books been written about it. Psychologists, hypnotherapists have all written about it, and the kind of the airy-fairy one that I love, the book I read, which I love, Sylvia Brown. You guys know Sylvia Brown? Yeah. Fairies and the whole thing. I love all that stuff. I think anything's possible. She wrote a whole book on it called Past Lives, Future Healing. It's about when at certain things, like let's say when we're 40, and this happened, this is just one of the cases in the book, this guy had this pain in his neck that he went to the doctor and they're saying, there's nothing wrong with you. He's like, you don't understand, I feel like I have a knife in my neck. Right? So he goes to her. She, does the work in the regression piece. Okay, in the life, he's hit with an axe, and that's how he's killed. And it was at age 40.
Wow.
So something triggered. So it's not like it's a new concept. A lot of people have been written about. And that particular book is full of hundreds of cases. It's called Past Lives, Future Healing. Julianne, were you going to say something? No. Okay. I think we already answered this, and I think even the person that asked it's not here. Are children brought into our lives to work out something? I mean, hello, yes. Are they a different person in this life? Yes, almost always the relationship is different in this life because it's karma payback time. I'm kidding, not payback necessarily. Oh, okay. All right. So, go ahead, Mary. No problem. As a matter of fact, I'm going to steal this chair. So this is our time of meditation and prayer. So in this class, as we pray and meditate, there's no rush. It's a longer meditation than a Sunday morning. Feel like you want to wiggle, just wiggle your fingers and toes to get the wiggles out. stretch your neck a little and begin to relax. Begin to breathe deeply. As you breathe, you start imagining that as you breathe deeply, you're relaxing, beginning with the top of your head. Another deep breath. You relax your forehead, even your eyebrows and your eyes. Imagine that breath just moving you deeper and deeper within yourself. Feel your ears relax, your eyes, your cheekbones, your mouth. Even relax your tongue, your throat. As you breathe, each breath takes you deeper and deeper into yourself. Relax your neck, your shoulder blades. Breathe and relax your arms and your hands. Your chest, your upper back. Rib cage, let it hang loose. Lower back, stomach. Breathe, relax. Send that relaxing breath to your hips, your buttocks, your thighs, your knees, calves, ankles, and feet. And now as you breathe, place your attention at your heart. Continuing to relax, breathing deeply, remembering that you are safe and supported. Silently repeat this after me. I ask for spiritual help, support, guidance, and protection in the work I'm about to do. See yourself and your body surrounded in light. As you breathe, you find yourself walking down a path. As you walk down this path, you go deeper and deeper into yourself. You see a pool of water, a cool, inviting pool of water. And before you know it, you're headlong in it, swimming. Down, down you go. All the way down, deep down into this water. Until you come to dry land. As you move forward, you see someone waiting for you by a fire. Welcoming you home to your soul. This person has a very special message for you. This consciousness as you learn more about who you are. Speaks to you about your true nature, about your soul. Has always been there, has always been supporting you, and will always be here for you. So just rest for a few moments with this being, this face of unconditional love that is supporting you, that is helping your soul. take some time to express your gratitude for the support. Give thanks for anything you may have received today and all you have received in the past. God unfolds us, the power of God protects us.